As I mentioned earlier, we're welcoming by definition. We have this great open playing field of looking at candidates because of our co-ed reality and our non-denominational posture, and just the things that make us just open and embracing.
In this video, you'll meet David Huckvale, who's the Director of Admissions and Post-Secondary Counseling at the Country Day School in King Township, Ontario. And in this video, you'll hear him explain what they mean when they say that they have a philosophy of a balanced education. You'll also hear him talk about the school's mandate of inclusivity and diversity. And you'll also hear him talk about the benefits of the school grounds located on a 100-acre plot. I'm here with David Huckvale, who's the Director of Admissions and of Post-Secondary Counseling at the Country Day School in King Township. Hi, David. How are you?
Carly, I'm wonderful today.
Great. And can you start by telling me 3 things you love about your job?
The people is number one. I get to work in a place that is alive, that has so much action and energy, that is making a difference in the lives of not just our students, but I know of our faculty and of our staff as well. So there's just an energy and a joy that comes with being around, in our case, about 900, maybe 950 human beings when you count up everyone here on a typical school day. So that's sort of the starting point for sure. I think also the chance to make a difference in the lives of people. When you meet someone in the admissions function and you can share your school's values and what your school can offer and try to find that connection where the family can join that and have a great experience, you really feel like you're improving somebody's life for the long term. And in my role as the university counseling, post-secondary counseling team member, sometimes I'm the 4th person who finds out someone has achieved sort of a dream placement at post-secondary. They find out, they tell their parents, and sometimes I'm next up, and that's pretty awesome. The third thing would be, this is a job that is never the same. There's always a new challenge. There's always a new circumstance. Certainly, being able to adapt and learn and continue learning, that's something I really love. And so although I might at times purport to be an expert in admissions and post-secondary counseling, it's always something new to learn and a new way to implement something really great.
And how long have you been at Country Day School now?
I'm heading into my 12th year here at Country Day. And wow, time flies when you're having fun. It just doesn't seem that long. For the first 5, 6, 8 years of my time here, I kind of felt like a newcomer because there is such a loyalty here within the Country Day School faculty and staff. I feel like now with 12 years, I'm kind of maybe even beyond the median as far as experience at the school. It's again, gone by fast, but gone by really well.
And what drew you to admissions?
Yeah, I took an unusual path. I actually don't have a background specifically in education. I came from a professional background in admissions and recruitment. I worked at York University for the decade before I joined Country Day School in sort of progressively more in-depth positions at the university, to the point that I was the director of recruitment when CDS made me an offer I couldn't refuse to come and be the 2 roles that I am here at Country Day. So for me, it was something that I have been interested in since the start of my career, connecting with people, sharing opportunity, and in a way that's real. I think admissions directors are really aware of the fact that they're not ever really in selling mode. It isn't about selling what we have to offer. It's about sharing what we have to offer and finding that connection that fits. So that's something I enjoy and I hope have a strength at. And so it kind of happened pretty interestingly and naturally for me to end up with admissions as my career.
And what do you look for in a student that is applying to country day school?
Yeah, that's a good question. We have a very holistic assessment process. We're a JK to 12 school, so I can give you a couple of general things we're looking for, but every grade is its own micro admissions universe, and so there are similarities in what you look for across the board, but it can be quite different when you're assessing a junior kindergarten applicant for readiness. And then if you're assessing maybe a student who wants to join you at the tail end of their education, grades 10, 11, or every now and then someone for grade 12. We're always looking for students who are curious, who value learning, and who want to be team players, and who are collaborative, who respect their own learning, the learning of others, the people who are helping them along the way in their journey. Those are some fundamentals. We do have a strong and challenging academic program here at Country Day. We offer an Extracurricular, but we augment that with advanced placement in the high school. We are a huge majority of our students head off to university, and that is a focus of ours. And so we do want to have students who are going to thrive in that challenging and kind of meaningful academic side of the equation. And so all those things together, kind of, we are looking at probably more intangibles than people would kind of expect on the surface. We have not made a single admission in the last decade that was done from paper. It's always well beyond what a candidate would share with us in just their online application or a report card that gets us kind of together across the finish line.
So when you say that intangibles end up being a major part of the assessment process, that's not really something you can prepare for. Is it just something that comes out naturally in the process that Country Day School has implemented?
Yeah, that's a great question, especially with parents viewing this and wondering how they can help their students be successful in this process. One of our goals here at CDS is to create an assessment process that feels very natural for the candidate. So a student coming for a grade 4 assessment is going to spend a day with other current grade 3s in a very natural setting to them. They're going to have an art class. They're going to do some math. They're going to go for recess. They're going to enjoy our awesome lunch. We have a great lunch program here. So yes, it's hard to coach and coax the student to be primed for that. But on the other hand, every day is a coaching and a priming for that. Getting to know your own children, looking for the strengths that they have, helping them, foster the things they're good at and work on the things that are next times for them. Finding excellent opportunities for their kids to meet other kids, to meet new people. An assessment at most schools includes meeting new people, whether it's the current students at that school or other candidates. And so there are ways to just be involved in your young person's life and coach and help them unlock their full potential that has great merit in a really holistic and multifaceted assessment process like ours.
Right. And what are the reasons for students to join CDS at various ages, like you say? Like some arrive later in the years, right before they go to university. Some are starting at JK. And what is the process? Like, what's the journey like for most students? Do they go that full journey, or do they select key years for an education?
We would be a school that has more students per grade in the high school than in the junior school. So we start smaller and build along the way. Currently our JK intake is 16 students, one section. We advanced to 2 sections as of grade 1. So we basically double our population per grade. That increases again in grade 4, in grade 7 and grade 9. So JK 1, 4, 7, and 9 are sort of natural entry years. We would absolutely consider a candidate in any year, and if a space emerges and they're that right fit candidate for that spot, a connection can be made. But those would be the most common years of joining. And so by the time we get to graduation, we have a part of our final ceremony, our graduation ceremony, that acknowledges lifers. And we consider you a lifer if you've been here since at least grade 1. and we had 22 lifers, I believe, this year, and that's not an uncommon number. So there are students who've been with us for a very long time, and that's wonderful. And it's one of the strengths of a JK to 12 co-ed non-denominational school like ours, that we can be so welcoming and so inclusive, and we can be part of an entire family's education for a long spell if that's their choice. But a student doesn't have to feel like if they join us in grade 9, they're going to be joining an already completely intact community with no opportunity to become part of that. We add close to 18 students in grade 7 and then up to 22 in grade 9. So when you think about our high school grades of 88 students typically, half of them are new from either grade 7 or from grade 9. So lots of opportunities to integrate. I think one of the great qualities we hear back from our community about CDS is how welcoming and inclusive the school is, how the comfort and feeling of care that our students get is essential. We consider that primary for us. We consider it when we hire staff and faculty, trying to find those new adult community members who are going to just naturally and just effectively create relationships, and they thrive on it. That's what makes them happy about coming to school and to work. We look for that in our students as well, that idea that a student wants to be a team member and a collaborator. And so that feeling of comfort and care and that welcoming, I think a lot of schools will profess to that. I would say that it's almost our primary concern. Everything falls from there in the sense of making an amazing experience here.
I was going to say, a lot of schools do say we have a welcoming community, we have an open community, we welcome diversity of experience and thought and all kinds of aspects. But how does CDS live it, as you say, and make it a priority? Can you give an example of something that symbolizes the school's commitment to a warm, large welcome?
Yeah, that's a great question, because I could go really broad and just talk about how we do intake and have parents reach out to other parents who are new, and student mentors assigned to new students so that they have already a face, a name, a person, a connection when they start. Those are really broad ways. We have a day before school starts where new students come and they're welcomed by their teachers and welcomed by key community members, adults and students. So there's some really broad ways where you can make people feel welcome. As I mentioned earlier, we're welcoming by definition. We have this great open playing field of looking at candidates because of our co-ed reality and our non-denominational posture, and just the things that make us just open and embracing. We are driven in a lot of ways by our students as well to be open and embracing, and just even in the types of projects our students take on. Our students in the senior school last year took on the Laramie Project, and that's a play that many schools have certainly engaged with. And in brief, it's the story of the murder of Matthew Shepard, a young man who's lost his life because of his sexual orientation. And doing the play is one thing, embracing it as an entire community. Our director of the theater program went to Laramie, Wyoming, and met with community members, ended up meeting with the family, with Matthew's parents, made such an impression. They came to our campus and participated on the 3 days of the play, even watching the performance on one of the events. And I can't remember exactly. I think Mom's seen the play once ever, and Dad maybe twice, and they watched it here with us at Country Day. And our school just embraced that whole time in our artistic and creative landscape and made it very broad. And I think that's a characteristic of our school, integrating things across different boundaries. And every school has a couple of sort of key taglines or phrases. One of ours is education with balance, and it's probably our most resonant one right now. And so that's our commitment to having an amazing and really expansive academic program, arts program, academics, leadership, character building, our really leading outdoor education program, and doing each one of them without compromise, and finding ways to put them together and have synergies across those those, what you would think would be divisions, when they're really just different ways to get at the same thing. A great experience for young people and helping them become wonderful contributing adults.
And what do you mean by that, by drawing connections between a piece of theater, outdoor education, academics in the classroom? How do you make those connections?
Sure. I'll give you an example, and there are a number I could pull on. We have an amazing campus. We have 100 acres. We still have the country. We still are the country in Country Day. There's not a building you can see from my window or many windows. We have a lovely spot, and a lot of that is that we have a great built property, but we have a really great natural property. And so to take advantage of that combination of our outdoor education, our amazing grounds team, one of our history classes actually brings World War I trench warfare to life by building trenches in the back of our property. The students have to then culture and cater them to get them to readiness. And then there's actually a simulated attack. There's a charge. And it just is taking your space, your commitment to outdoor education, your desire to teach our students history and make it meaningful, and putting that together. And so all of those interdisciplinary opportunities are things we look for. We have a grade 12 course. It's called The Nature of Change. And it's an interdisciplinary course by definition. That's the title of it. But it's so much more. It's team taught by 3 teachers. They don't take turns. They share the classroom. They come from different disciplines. The students in that class are very self-directed. They are picking topics that look at change in the world from a perspective that matters to them. So if they're taking a lot of science and math courses and heading off to Waterloo for engineering, they might look at change as it relates to structures or chemical properties, or something that's very dear to them. Where we've had students in that course look at how the Beatles changed rock and roll. So those types of open opportunities and combinations are inherent here.
And I read a phrase in my research of CDS that students are gently required to participate in extracurricular activities, physical activities, sports, arts. So what does that mean, to be gently required to be involved in other things?
I think the other term you could have is required, and required is a little much sometimes. There are some students who their exploration of athletics or the arts or something else is happening actually in tandem with Country Day and not at Country Day. We have students who are high-level athletes who are part of our high-performance athlete program, who actually we have some things in place to help them, make sure that they're getting all that they need, and then helping them transition off to that very intense schedule with their hockey team, their equestrian program, their gymnastics competitive group. So there are people who are, to make something required would be actually an impediment to their being a part of the community. Also, we like to think that we will create a menu of activities that students will opt joyfully into, and we have great success with that. So gently required is an acknowledgement that as a grade 4 here at Country Day, when the school day ends the academic school day ends at the end of 4th period in high school, or 3:10 in the middle school and junior school, that as a grade 4, the extracurricular period arrives. And so you choose an extracurricular, an activity for each of the 3 terms. Sometimes if you choose certain activities, you can have a combination of activities in a given term. But once you've chosen that, you are committed, and attendance is taken, and it's part of the day. So it's compulsory would be too strong a word. Required would be too strong a word. But gently required kind of gives the connotation. It's something that students participate grandly in, and our faculty and staff as well. Part of working and teaching here at Country Day is making that commitment to being involved in our extracurricular program. It's not voluntary in the sense that it's something you can choose to do or not do. As a teacher, as a faculty member, it is part of your role here. And for me, I've I came to Country Day with a passion and history with baseball, and I coached the school's baseball team. We didn't have a baseball team until I arrived. I actually made it a gentle requirement of my being hired that I be allowed to pursue a actual baseball team. We had softball at the time, and I got the nod, and it's become part of the school's athletic programming. Being a co-ed school, being a school that has a lot of options, our baseball team is a great example of resilience and of joy of participating. We practice hard. We improve as a team and as individuals. We don't usually win. Our record is usually started with a 0 in the win column at the end of the year. We play some pretty tough competition. Some all-boys schools who with a little more student population to pull from. But I'll tell you what, every year I have more students than I could imagine coming out and being part of this team that is just a community. I think that's what I love about coaching that group, and a lot of our coaches and teachers love. Our students really enjoy the school. They're happy when they arrive. They're smiling when they leave. Often I'll join our director of senior school because my office is in the high school when students are arriving in the day, and we're greeting them and they're greeting us. And there's just we have 780 students or so, and that can seem big at times, but when you're here in the school every day, it feels really small in a good way.
And I was thinking back to an offhanded comment you made about how great the lunches are at CTS. Is there something else that is hard to find out about the school until you actually start going there that you would want people to know? Is there something that you won't find like on the website or through interviews or anything like that you would encourage prospective parents or students to know?
Yeah, that's a really good question. One of them I'd say is how meaningful the school can be for parents. We really do try to create an environment where it's a family affair, where students come and of course they spend more time here with us, waking hours, than they do at home. And so often at our grad day, when our graduating students are sharing their most important thoughts, they'll talk about this being a second home. And we have a grand number of parents who would argue the same thing. They support the school in some of our areas where we're looking for parent support, whether it's in our school store or with planning activities and events for the school. In the junior school, parents walk across the threshold and take their kids to class and help them with their coat at their cubby when they're in JK or grade 1 or grade 2. There's sort of impromptu conversations in the parking lot with parents just touching base and connecting. There's coffee mornings. We have a really awesome event each year that's our auction that brings families together. So I think it would surprise a parent, who are probably the main people watching this video, how important the school can become in their life. And the way that is most often communicated isn't by me saying it. Our most important communication tool as a school is the word of mouth that happens from our parents talking about the CDS experience with potential parents. The percentage is super high of families when we ask them what got them to start really in earnest investigating Country Day and then applying and coming. And it's, a huge percentage say it's a neighbor, a family member, my periodontist, you name it, who said, this is a place you've got to find out about. And parents can do that because of the messages their students are bringing home, but many of them are also sharing messages about their own journey with Country Day and how it's become part of their fabric.
And generally, where are students coming from geographically? Are they close to King Township and the school, or is it more broad?
So as a day school, one of the things we love about being a day school exclusively is that all of our students come and enjoy an amazing experience at Country Day, and then they return home to their parents for that supportive and loving environment. So we're all kind of in that same position, and that's a good place to work from. Many of our students do come from nearby, whether that's King Township itself and the 3 settlements, or Aurora, Richmond Hill, Thornhill. There's a cluster of community members who come from, if you were to plot it on a map or drive during the exit and entry times of the school would be a 30-minute commute. But more than you might think, there are community members who make a trek to CDS to have access to this experience. We have a bus system. There are currently 8 buses that serve the school, and they sort of start from different faraway locations. And there's one that starts north of Barrie. There's one that starts out in Caledon. There's one that starts out in Brampton, in Markham, in South Thornhill. And there's families that live even beyond that boundary. It's humbling to me when a family chooses to join us and it comes out during the process that they live in Port Perry, an hour away, or another destination that would mean that type of a commute. It tells me a lot about the fact that we are offering something that they really find resonance with.
And you mentioned earlier that in terms of students, it's an open net. But in terms of families that gravitate towards Country Day School, is there a theme or any shared characteristics?
Sure. I mean, the easy answer to get out of this question would be to say no, because we are such a broad community. But I can hone in on a few things, and one is that the parents who end up adopting CDS as their second home for their kids are parents who are looking for that their student to be known, to be cared for, an extension of that love and commitment that they're providing at home to be provided by the school that they choose. And of all the things I've already talked about, our location, our setting, our philosophies really does lend to that. So parents do feel that and embrace that. So that's a common theme for sure. I would say our parents also want for their students a strong academic program, but they listen and learn from us that we're not going to do that at a breakneck speed or way that's going to compromise the other aspects that I talked about. When I said we're not compromising with the arts and athletics and leadership and outdoor, I mean that. And parents get to know that when they interact with us. And so if they're looking for, solely a school that provides an amazing education in, say, one area, for example, I'll just pick one. Let's pick, in the liberal arts. That's going to be a little bit of a disconnect in the sense that we're going to want that liberal arts student to take a healthy dose of other subjects, to explore different disciplines, to be involved beyond academics. Our policy to homework is progressive, and I'd say understands the fact that when you add homework, you have to sometimes subtract really important things like extracurriculars and even sleep and rest and family time. We have a policy where we do not assign homework into long weekends or holidays. We can share with a family our homework policy from JK all the way to grade 12 that positions homework in a way that I think is really healthy and positive. And so there's an outcome to that. We have students who head off to so many different disciplines for post-secondary. In most of the last decade, we've had a really nice split between about a third of our students heading off to programs that are liberal arts and social science. Maybe they have a career as a teacher or a lawyer in mind. They want to explore some of the great areas of learning that have been taught since the 1400s. There's about a third of our students who head into the life and physical sciences. So from engineering to physics to chemistry to biochemistry to pre-med, you name it. And then there's a healthy number who choose programs like business. That would be our next biggest category, about 20%, and then a whole other little flavor. And that doesn't change from year to year. I think it has something to do with our admissions process and looking for students with broad interests, but also the messaging we provide about being this place that's about balance, not just in numbers of activities, but even in the types of academic approaches we encourage for our students.
Do you find that university post-secondary education is the trajectory that students arrive to at the end of their journey?
Absolutely. Continuing to learn is something that as an adult I value and I'm a work in progress, and so I think our students know that their their progress and learning and development won't end at the end of grade 12. University is the primary destination for our students. It would be somewhere in the 99% range as far as students who head off directly to university. We are very welcome and open to students exploring an array of options. We had 2 students this year who chose really meaningful programs within the community college system here in Ontario, and that's something that we encourage and embrace. But the reality is our students are keen on continuing learning. Universities really aspirational destination for them, and they work hard and they do the things that they do need to do to find out what the right fit is for them. One of the things I'm proud of is the fact that our students often come back and talk to us about feeling that the university they chose was a good fit for them. We take our grade 12 students to universities as a grad trip, so they get to choose between 2 trips where they see a multiple of universities, so usually 5 on each trip, and they learn about themselves, they learn about the schools, they have a really great time, and it helps that journey in that grade 12 year for them, not just picking a school from a view book or from a website. Kind of the same advice I give to parents picking an independent school. I tell our university or post-secondary bound students to use your head first and fill it with great information and interesting facts that you need to know and the details. And once you've done that, then look to your heart and make a decision that fits you as a person. And that often means having to visit a place and put boots on the ground and be someone who's experienced that. It also means talking to community members. That word of mouth I talked about for CDS, if a family doesn't have a ready-made community member to talk to, we'll connect them with one. We're happy to connect prospects to our community members, whether they're parents or students. During our open house program, our tours are all delivered by students. The junior school tours by grade 6 students who love it. They can't wait for their time to get to grade 6 to do tours. We give them a little bit of sort of coaching just so they have a foundation, but they just fly with it. They tell about their experience. I can't tell you how many times the parents come back to the finish line for the open house to talk with me and said, "Oh my goodness, that grade 6 tour guide, I want my young person to turn out like that." And in our high school, middle school tours, again, by our students. So lots of ways to interact to kind of go beyond just the information that's important about making an independent school decision and get into the part that's got to be that fit, that heartfelt side of things, that knowledge about some of the things you already have asked me about, the way the school just feels and acts and what's important to us.
On that note, if Country Day School was a person, what kind of personality traits would it have?
Great. We were founded in 1972, so we're approaching 50, which I guess that makes us middle-aged if we're in human terms. And that's not a bad way to describe us too. We've got some standing behind us. We've emerged as a really leading and amazing independent school. We've got great facilities and a history behind us, but we're not stuffy and sort of restrained to a past that's really distant. So I think we're open-minded and curious, and we're that person who wants to try new things and maybe fail at 1 and succeed at 3, and then keep going and trying on some new additional things. If we were a person, we'd like to be outdoors as much as we could. When you have a property like this, that's a sort of a natural, but I think that also attracts students and staff. We have, I know when both our admissions and our hiring process happens, coming here and seeing the place and knowing that this is a value add to the experience, the location and the natural side of things is really important. So we're middle-aged, we're curious, we love the outdoors, we like to eat, and we like to have fun and be around other people.
And I wanted to ask about financial aid. What kind of options are available for families?
Sure. again, being middle-aged means that we have a modest opportunity to provide financial aid. We're still building our endowment and some of our opportunities to be able to support new families and continuing families financially. I think we've made inroads there. We have a major scholarship for grade 9 and 10 entry, for grade 9 entry, the Eberts Award, supported and named after one of our founding community members at Eberts. And so that's a way to offer a scholarship to an incoming new grade 9 student. In addition to that scholarship for new students, we do have a bursary program that can support a new family or an existing family. There's a process. We ask families to interact with a third party and share details about their financial situation, and then the process plays forward, and we're able to share whether there's a resource available as that family would make an admissions decision. And so for a family, that financial aid would be a component of their considering country day, we would encourage them to reach out to us. We can never give somebody a specific answer until we're fairly further down the pathway, and I think there, and we are okay with that. We first want to find that fit as a school, and then we can work together to try to help with that fit from the financial aspect.
And with your insider knowledge of this industry and your position in admission, for parents who are going through this process now who don't have that insight you do, if you were in their shoes, what would strike you as a red flag if you were researching schools, visiting schools? Is there something that would ring alarm bells in your head that you would encourage other parents to be aware of?
Sure. I think one of them would be if a school is just too eager to get you to sign on the dotted line. For us, we do feel it's a partnership to arrive at the decision to join the school. Now, we're fortunate that we're a school that's in a position, enrollment-wise and financially, to have that as a foundation. I would think and hope that we would never abandon that no matter what the circumstances. But a family who interacts with Country Day is going to feel that there is that partnership towards enrollment. And I think if I was a parent and I felt I was at any point being pressured or cajoled or maybe overpromised, I would worry about that. Because what you might also end up finding is a school that's willing to do any of those things may not be the school that will stick to its foundational principles down the line either. And it's so great to be part of the case and to be in a community where schools are very much in line with what I just described. And so within the type of peer group schools that Country Day operates, I think that's just the going rate of how you would work with a family and try to find that fit, and not, you may have a deadline, but there's just having a deadline and applying pressure that just doesn't seem right. And parents have other parts of their life where they deal with people who want something from them or are offering something to them. And so, don't get caught up in the sense that, okay, this is a school, so they're for sure going to have my best interest in mind. Get to feel and know that from your interaction with the community. And I think, I've never been asked that red flag question like that. So that was really off the cuff, but I think that's true. That idea that a school that's going to be a great fit is going to be one that's going to want to partner with you towards an enrollment.
Well, thank you very much, David. Is there anything we haven't talked about that you wanted to mention before we go?
I'd want to mention that, in a timeline that we've had here, which has been great, this has been a really great opportunity. No matter how many great questions you ask and how many decent answers I give, it's going to fall short of really getting to where you need to get to decide to entrust your 3.5-year-old rising grade junior kindergarten student or your precious, wonderful incoming grade 9 student. So, a combination of resources from a school like ours website, which is got a lot of great information. And also, I would say going beyond the data side of the website. For example, for us, we have amazing portraits of graduates. So they're video interviews like this of our grads as they're leaving the school. And they're so candid and they're so rich in what it is they're saying about their experience. And we try to pick students who've had different journeys. So any parent or student was likely going to find somebody that they feel a connection to. And, so using lots of resources and kind of putting those all together to make a great decision. And that can mean starting a year and a half in advance. My least favorite experience with a parent is when they come to us and in a short order, you feel like they would be a good fit and you'd be a good fit for them, but it's past a deadline, or the grade that they would be accessing is already, set for that year. And so, it's great in an open house when you see the parent who's here well in advance, or even the couple who are in the midst of a pregnancy. That might be a little early, but I'd rather they share it too early than later than can help have us work together.